All right, guys. So we're going to be training today. I know this is going to be boring, but that's what happens when you don't come to the regular training. You don't get all the jokes that I have. But anyway, let's make this as quick as possible, y'all. So the training today is test security. This training does not take place of reading these materials and these manuals. Now, we're going over a lot about manuals and stuff, but we're doing it for the benchmark because we like to make the benchmark as close to STAR as possible. And so that's the reason why we do that. Again, but it is not my responsibility to read these slides verbatim. It's your responsibility to read them in depth, to read your manuals, make sure that you know your role and responsibility because you signed an oath that said that you are going to do so. I'm going to make this as clear as possible, and you can always come and ask me questions if you need to. All right, this slide basically talks about the security and confidentiality of tests, basically giving you the Texas code that makes you responsible for that. And violations can be yielding to losing your certification, being suspended, and things of that nature. Secure material will be kept into our testing room that's located on the right side of the stage in the cafeteria. This form basically says that this is on our door that says that all of our materials are secure. Confidentiality is important. It includes all test material, online test booklets, STAR all 2 stimuli, enter documents, and TELPAS calibrations. You're signing an oath that says everyone signs it, the principal, coordinators, administrators, non-certified professionals, everyone, TELPAS raters, that says I will comply with all those rules that apply to me in keeping things confidential. This also sets for the paras, and so determining whether you are going to be having just security training or you're going to be administering something. You will not be administering anything, so we don't have to have anybody supervising you or being responsible for you. You will all be hall monitors, and their specific duties we'll go over. Test environment. Testing does not mean school's out. It does not mean your room no longer has to be in instruction mode. This is a good picture, except the teachers in the back not working, as you see here. Not a good thing. Good things are privacy shields, the casitas, students facing the same direction, and no instructional material is visible. You also have this classroom. Straight rows are wonderful, but there's no coverage of the instructional material, and if the kids were there would be no privacy shields. You also have this great room, straight rows, no privacy shields, and there's a lack of privacy. However, we have some schools that do have no privacy shields. However, that takes more and more and more and more active monitoring. So we like to use those because see the students all facing the same direction. This one as well, same thing. I like to go back to that one where the clock is visible. If you're able to have a clock, that will be a good thing. Administration guidelines, keeping everything secure. When you pick up documents, they are belonging to you at that point. Those things are to be secured. If they are unsecured, that is an irregularity on your part. Do not have them in the room, sitting on your desk with the door locked, and you say that they are secure. That is not secure. Make sure you have all your devices turned off. No subject material inside of the hallways as well. Make sure that you have make sure that you are basically complying with all the directives that is being given to you. Examples of content material, you'll see that below. You can read that. Make sure that everybody gets that correct information. We do not want students getting the wrong Scantron, getting the wrong test booklet. Let's make sure that we are making sure that we have students with the same name, that we are checking the ID numbers. I do not want kids taking the wrong test for the wrong for a different student. Make sure that you're collecting the materials as well. This is basically the letter we're going to send home about cell phones and watches. No watches. So here, nobody is to have a watch. I don't care if their watch is a regular hand watch. You will be the timekeeper. We have some kids that may have a watch in terms or medical reasons, but you'll know those students. But however, nonetheless, You do not have cell phones. You or the students. I am so trying to stress this cell phone thing because I am absolutely going to be zero tolerance on this cell phone, whether it's an adult, whether it's a student. We're not having any irregularities this year due to cell phones. Even if they're off, the kids need to understand that this will be zero tolerance. It cannot be in their possession, and we're going to make sure I'm going to do my part to let them know, but you need to do your job as far as the administrator goes, that this phone is off and that you have them. No watches. I don't care if they start complaining. Nobody is to have a watch because students are taking pictures of questions on their Apple Watches. If anything becomes soiled, wet, blood, anything like that, call me immediately. There's an actual procedure to be able to handle this. So the oral administrations, there's the oral administration, and so that you all also sign oaths if you're going to be an oral administrator. You also will be trained as oral administrators, everyone, because you never know what happens. Someone might get in a car accident, get sick, and you need to know what to do. So there's also an oral administration manual for that as well. Make sure that the test administrators have permission, sign the oath on the bottom, and that they've been trained in terms of viewing information in the test. You may not respond to questions, make notes, make calculations. You are not an assistant when it comes to taking the test. That is a direct violation of your oaths and your duties and your expectations, and it will have consequences. This basically talks about what can happen if you have a penalty or you're found guilty of anything that is prohibited by the test security supplement. Again, Class C misdemeanors could also result in criminal prosecution. The TEA monitors also visit our campuses as well as district monitors. You need to make sure that you are monitoring. I'm not saying to walk around all 4 hours, that you can't stop for a second, sit in the front of the room like on a stool or something, or sit on the top of a free desk so that you're sitting up high in terms of being able to still look at these students, but you are to be monitoring. There's not an excessive amount of sitting. You sitting the entire time. You do need to make sure you're actively monitoring, watching students' hands, watching if they're looking on their ID badges for notes, things of that nature. Please be watching, because I don't want anybody watching you do the wrong thing. Testing irregularities. Whose fault is it? It's going to be our fault individually if we're not doing the part that we're responsible for doing. A couple of not demographics, but data points. Procedural errors, 12%. Implementation of IEP, meaning kids were not getting the accommodations that they should have, or they got accommodations that they should not have. Monitoring errors, 11%. Material errors, make sure that whatever it is said on that roster that they received, we're going to try to do our best in the counseling office to make sure that we're correct, having checks and balances. But if you do your part and we do our part, we should be fine. Oral administrative errors, people reading stuff that they have no business reading. Stay on task. All right, there's different types of irregularities, serious and procedural. Okay, serious things: providing test answers, aiding them, assisting them, identifying incorrect responses, changing and altering their answers. No, no, no. All right, falsifying documents, scoring students' tests either formally or informally. No, no, no. Duplicating, recording, sharing information, fraudulently exempting children, preventing them from administrative test assistance. Let's not do that. All right, make sure that you are reporting. When you know someone else is doing something and you didn't report, that is now your responsibility, and when you don't do that, there's consequences for you as well. Again, implementation of the IEPs, kids not getting the things that they are needed. Let's get that done. Improper accounting for materials, monitoring errors. Please make sure that you are doing what you are supposed to do. You can read some of this on your own. Make sure that you're reporting. You are responsible. You sign an oath that says you are. If you see something, say something. Staff statements. If something does happen, you will be required to write a staff statement that embodies all of these things. Students using technology. there can be a stipulation in there for you, even though the student is using it, if you're not actively monitoring as well. We know it's not fair, but at the end of the day, we sign up every year to do this. All right, so you can read a lot of this. I'm not going to go through this. It's your responsibility to read most of this. I'm not going to go slide by slide verbatim. Some of this stuff is repetitive. This slide, I'm going to send this to you guys, and it's your responsibility to get this done. You need to make sure that you are getting this done and that this is done by all parties. Now, I'm going to send this to you, so you will have the link to get it done. When you finish and you print out the slide, I need to make sure that you are printing the certificate out. Print the certificate out, bring it to our office. It's going to go to Nancy, or it's going to go to Laura in our office. Make sure you're doing this. And so if you're first year new to Dean, and your first year ever testing or being an administrator or being a teacher, you're going to do modules 1, 2, and 3, and we need proof of that. If you've been here, you're not new to Dean, it says just new to Dean. Well, you could be new to Dean, or you've been here before. You only need to do module 1. I'm going to correct that after this. But if you're new to Dean and it's your first year ever, 1, 2, 3. If you're just new to Dean and you've been an administrator before, it's going to be just module 1. I'll correct that. I'm sorry, guys. So now you're secure on test security. If you got a question, you need to email me, please. Okay, oral administration. These are so many freaking slides, guys, that goes through this. I'm not going through all of them. The most important thing is that you know this. STAR Math, Science, Social Studies. You can only read questions and answer choices, reference materials that they're giving, and allowable accommodations. Do not read anything else. If you are an oral administrator, questions, answers, reading, questions, answers, you do not read these students' reading selections. You do not do that. Questions, answer, choices, reference materials, allowable accommodations. Look at this STAR writing. It clearly does not have questions and answers. That means the editing section of that writing STAR, you don't read. The only thing that these students can get in the entire school building, 504, special ed, regular students, they only get to be read the writing prompt. The writing prompt can be read to any student in this building. You do not read anything else. I do not want irregularities. That's why I'm spending so much moments on this one slide for oral accommodations. You only read the things that you see right here on this screen. Zero tolerance on accommodations oral reading for this, because it's been clearly explained. So certain things for math, like it gives you examples. I suggest you go through it. Friday can be read as Friday. This can be read as 0.5 centimeters. Be careful basically for your sense of having to basically just know what you're supposed to be reading and the things that you're not supposed to be reading. Just make sure that you guys are paying attention to certain things. You need to also look at this. This is for algebra, and a lot of our kids are not going to basically have this. So in terms of our oral readers, but they also there's algebraic expressions. There's formulas that our students will have that you need to be familiar with. V equals pi r squared h. You can read that. C times D equals K. You notice that I said times for this dot. You do not say multiply. I know, it's weird. But here's more examples. I noticed that you can only read the titles here where it says titles. You can only read the titles, and I'll zoom out a little bit for you guys. You're going to get this PowerPoint anyway, so it doesn't make a difference. You can only read titles, labels, and numbers can be read aloud. That's it. That's it. I'll say it again. That's it. Words and key may also be read aloud. So keys, where you have the keys right here, where they tell you what those things mean, that can also be read aloud. So let's keep that in mind as well. Cannot be read aloud. Clock times can't be read aloud, but the labels can. Start, finish. You can read to go through most of these slides. Notice that it says here, though, symbols may only be read as symbol. So you can't say each one of these test tubes or things of that nature, beakers and stuff. You can't say that. It just says symbol. That's it. Letters and numbers may be read aloud on the number line. Remember, symbols. More examples of what you can read and what you can't read. All right. Notice there's so many slides. I know you're probably like, what in the world? Keep that in mind. So any text in a text question and answer choice may be read aloud. This is kind of important. I know that there's graphics and sometimes different things inside of an answer choice or a question. You can read those things. So the model below is shaded to represent 3 and 7 over 100. Which decimal does the model represent? So you notice that I read this. And then I also read this because that's a part of the question. That's also a part of the problem. So this example may be read aloud. Any text in a test question and answer choice can be read aloud. Notice the answer choice is A. Is 3.007. Nobody said 3 and 7 thousandths. So again, 3.007. 3.7. C, 3.70. Just say the 07, I'm sorry. Just say the numbers as they are. Do not give them thousands, hundreds, things of that nature, and don't say decimal. It's point. Notice here it says that you could read this as blank plus blank equals 11. Blank plus blank. So that's it for oral. Now go on and be great, people. But we're not done in its entirety. That's just the test security part. All right, just the test security part. Now we're going to go to the benchmark part of this, where we get a little bit specific about the benchmark, and I need you guys to focus a little bit. I know it's a little dry. So a benchmark environment. So the district came up with an idea that we won't use butcher paper anymore. I know that can be a little rough and a little tough, but again, you cannot use butcher paper. Absolutely no butcher paper. Okay. Now, I know the reading teachers, you have all those books on your bookshelves. We're saying that you can use butcher paper to cover the bookshelf. What they're saying is they don't want a room plastered with wrinkled butcher paper. If you have something instructional, something that aids a student in that particular test that they are taking that day. I know social studies has an ICHOP, from what I've heard, an ICHOP strategy that needs to come down for reading tests. You also need to understand if there's anything in the math. So basically for benchmark, we have a math and reading. So math and reading rooms need to be test ready prepared. The hallways test ready prepared. I don't see people really posting anything in the hallways instructionally. So I think we're good there. We'll be having room checks on February the 23rd. Dictionaries and calculators will be dropped off also by the 23rd. We're hoping so. The saying, when in the gray, take it away. Take it down if it's instructional, because we don't want to have issues related to your room. You are responsible for prepping your own room as well. Very responsible for prepping your own room as well. That doesn't mean somebody walking on test day and say, oh my God, the rows are not straight. They're not facing the right way. We still have things up. We shouldn't, because we should be having a room check. Classroom should be clean and less distracting. That's probably for our junky people. Junky people. But let's make sure we have that down and correct. Okay? Make sure you have enough casitas as well to try to accommodate 30 students. This is what our doors should look like consistently. This first one is when you begin testing. When you begin testing. And so you're going to have your testing signs, do not disturb, and your no cell phone. I'm sorry, I'm a little sleepy. When you need assistance is your red sign. That sign is for test related help. Do not put that sign out because you need to go to the restroom. The need a break sign is for the restroom. And that need a break sign does not mean, oh, I'm ready to go on my 45 minutes. That means that you need to go to be released for a moment and to come right back. Okay, extensive 15-minute breaks will be taken out of your time when you don't return. Testing complete is I'm ready to go. And I'll get to the aspect of being ready to go. Leave your doors unlocked so that monitors can have less distracting entrances, and they'll be able to get in and get right on out of there. This is a 3-hour benchmark, 3 hours. We will be moving extended time testers for formalities so that they know that they get their extra time, no parent complaints, and that we're also going to be moving them just to kind of show the students that we are basically, you will be transitioned for regular STAR. So we're going to do that. And we're probably only going to give them about an hour, just an hour, people. Okay. This is what the rosters are going to look like. We need that start time. We need that end time. When time to dress class start. Typically, not typically, let's just be clear. When Dr. Bergman says start on the announcements, you need to start. That means you need to be spending your time from 7:25 to 7:45 to get those kids started. Meaning, take that cell phones up, all of them. Put your cell phone up, powered completely off. You need a watch, you need a clock, you need something. But you are not allowed to have the phone when it ends ending time, because we don't want to run over for lunches. We run over for lunches, it's going to be a big deal, and I just don't want that to happen at this point. Seating chart, it's important that your relief teacher is bringing that in, is really signing in that they relieved you. I don't want any irregularities while you're gone, and then I can't tell who was the person in the room at that time. So that's important. That's been added. Let's use that. Benchmark packet. All right, so the benchmark packet, basically, we're going to go to it. I'm going to have to change screens, but this is a quick overview of the time layout, and this is also our aspect of what we'll be doing. So let's kind of go over to this, and I'm going to zoom in for you guys a little bit. I'm trying to be a little fancy. All right, here we go. So we basically, and you're going to get all this in the email, so don't be like, Ms. McDaniel, I can't see nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. So here we go. You're going to also need to come by and pick up a packet as well. If you didn't make this training, I need you to come pick up a packet from me. Here it is. You're going to have 7:30 to 7:05. I'm not going to go through this in its entirety, but test administrators need to have buckets picked up by 7:05. 7:05 is by the time you need to pick up your buckets. I had to make a change in the packet, and so you see like some highlighted parts. That's the testing announcements. We're going to take the pledge and stuff out. It's going to take up too much time. Campus administrators, that just said administrators in the packet, so it's really campus administrators. And then test administrators on the bottom, where after stop. So those are my three little changes, not a big deal. You're going to go through this, and it'll tell you we're going to be on regular schedule. Everybody's going to go to 5th period, you guys. Everybody's going to go to 5th period. Let's keep that in mind. All right. We're going to go 5th, 6th, and 7th. Then the benchmark hall monitors. Descriptions are here. Sign into the testing room. Sign into the testing room, and then you're going to be at your post by 7:05. Ensure that all the testing signs are posted in that area. Again, make sure all the signs are posted. Let's not camp out at the desk. There's people who are administrating. They don't get that break per se to be a hall monitor. You need to be monitoring. No phones, no long lines at the restroom, things of that nature. So again, make sure there's no talking. Look for needs assistance signs. I don't want people making complaints that I had 4 hall monitors on my hallway, but nobody saw my needs assistance signs. Let's be considerate of other people. Certified monitors, you're going to be in the hallway. That's mostly our CCIS. For the most part, monitoring, doing their job, going in, giving breaks, letting people use the restroom. Now, these hall monitors that are not certified, you don't go in rooms. Nowhere on here does it say that you go in a room. Absolutely not. It says inform a certified hall monitor. So keep that in mind. If we have somebody that needs assistance, let's get that reported out. Again, our certified hall monitors, your duties are here. The restroom monitors, we're not having long line of kids. And we're also not going to have the same consistent kids continuing to come to the restroom. And this is benchmark. This is going to be regular STAR testing as well. Let's cut those restrooms down. If there's 4 students standing out there, let them all go in at one time. You step in, let them go, and get them out. Okay? Because the time does not stop because they're using the restroom. Test administrators, bucket pickup 7:05. Absolutely. Everybody's on duty in their place, already doing what they're supposed to do. 7:05. Ensure test security. Keep the materials in a safe place. Ensure all students and staff have their cell phones turned off and put away during testing. No excuses. And so actively monitoring to ensure that there's no cheating, there's no talking. Ask for assistance if you're unsure. So here's your duties. All right. Again, we got our restroom monitors all here.